Welcome to the Better Learning Podcast. This is going to be a fun one. We are already kind of giddy and worried about this one as we get into this. We are going to be talking about the movie Superbad. And Carla Cummins, my co-host. Carla, how's it going?
Fabulous.
All right, you ready this? We invited Nick Duffy and Ken Hagen from OPN Architects, and they picked the movie Superbad. And Nick, Ken, how are you guys doing?
I mean, we're
Doing well.
good. Yeah. To be fair, though, Nick picked the movie. Like, I want to preface that. I'm gonna
You
just
already
put that
threw
out
me under
there.
the bus, man.
I did. I
Okay.
totally did. Because when our bosses come to us, I want to make sure that this is recorded for posterity. Okay.
Perfect. Great.
I
Thank
do
you.
think,
Yes,
though,
I picked it, and I am ending my career now. So there we go.
I do think, though, as we learned in the movie, when you're dragged along, and you're just as culpable as Nick
Okay.
is Ken.
That
So
is
just
true.
so you know.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That is true.
That's
right.
I was telling Carla earlier today, I'm like, I do have a hot take on this movie, which I think I know when I want to pull it in, but it hit me halfway through this movie. But where do we want to start? Why? I guess, Nick, why did you pick this movie?
For me, this movie hit kind of at the right intersection of a life transition for me too. It was kind of at the end of my college years when it came out, and so thinking about like these guys going through this experience of ending high school and going different directions. When I first saw it, I'm like, oh, this is my life. I'm like 4 years older, but like I'm going through this exact same thing. My friends are moving to other places, and we're all going through different experiences. Never in the same way that they did in the movie, maybe to that extent. But yeah, it's just one of those. It's a buddy film, and I think that kind of appeals because we've all gone through those transitions in life where you're not sure quite what's next, and so it's always nice to have friends along for the ride as you're going through those moments.
Yeah. Yep, perfect. Well, let me set some of the scenes here. Of it came out in 2007, which I agree. Like this was a movie that I totally would have loved in my college days. I definitely loved it afterward too because it was reminiscent. But it was interesting because it's Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg are the writers, and it's basically about like them going through high school. It's an amazing cast. I mean, there are so many people in this movie that have like worked together, continue to work together, and all these overlaps that happen in there. But it's basically just like a stupid comedy of of kids that are seniors and what really goes through the minds of kids.
I think
Yeah.
it's more like through the minds of young adolescent boys. Like,
Yes.
there's so many things in here that we were talking earlier, right? Like, oh boy, this movie did not age well. There are a lot of things in here, like, yikes. Like, I actively discourage my kids from saying, like, we don't say those words anymore. Like, you don't do that. Like, it's, it's really funny. It was great though. Like, the coming of age, like what Nick was saying, like, just so many great, like, oh yeah, I had a friend who did stuff like that, or yeah, I remember doing stuff like that, like just being stupid. And thankfully no cell phones were around when I was coming of age like that. Otherwise this movie could have very easily been about me too.
Yeah.
So
Well, what do they call it? They call it a cultural phenomenon for a reason. But I have to wonder, like, what age demographic it would be considered a cultural phenomenon for, because it's not anything that I can imagine even my kids would pull up and watch.
I don't know. I was thinking that. I mean, my oldest is 17, and I'm trying to think. I'm like, I don't want. I know it's one of those like I don't want him watching this, but I could
Right.
totally see him watching this with his friends and thinking it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
or yeah,
But
like,
they also
doing-
don't have the patience to watch like a whole, like
A whole
feature
movie.
film.
Who watches a movie anymore, right? I mean, it's all 10-second clips on your phone that you're just going through. So yeah.
yeah, or they're
Yeah.
listening while they're on their phone, like scrolling, like, and then about every 20 minutes they look up, like, oh yeah, that's funny.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's better than like sitting and taking notes, because I have a notepad when I'm like, oh, this is a quote, or oh, this is a whatever. It's weird. That's weird too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
this is a hard one. If the audience has not seen this movie,
Don't watch it with your children.
yeah,
Full
don't watch it with
disclosure.
kids. Yeah, I feel like this might be one of the ones that we have to put like the explicit, like the E rating on, on the podcast release. is there anything that you guys want to talk about before we go into the award category about this movie? There's so many one-liners. There's so much humor in this.
That's the hard part. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
has it survived the test of time? Maybe not, but there are certainly parts that, like you said, with the cast and other components that make it somewhat timeless. So there are elements of it that we can hang on to and appreciate. It was a moment in time, perhaps. No, I think it's just it feels familiar. Especially having at one time been a teenage boy. I don't know if that partially appealed in some ways too, but it was just there are so many one-liners that are quotable that to someone who hasn't seen it, they're like, "What are you talking about?" But if once they see it, they make the total connection.
Yeah.
And I can wait till the end to have like some architecture nerd out stuff here as I was watching it. Like
as it relates to the movie, you had architectural nerd out stuff.
I have architectural nerd out stuff at every movie, Carla. It is my life. It is kind of one of those things. Like that's just what happens. So
as the former educator, I always look for things that I can teach out of movies or anything I come across. This one's a little bit harder, but there are lessons you can learn.
Well, I think but it's equal parts raunchy and it's ridiculous, but it's surprisingly heartfelt too. And truthfully, whether or not you're a boy or a girl, I can't relate to it as much as y'all can. I don't know what level of nerd you were in school. We can talk about that later too, Ken. But as a girl,
I like how she's calling you out, Ken.
That's okay.
I mean, I think it was Nick who said it. Sorry, Ken. Nick, whoever it was. But I think anyone who's fumbled through high school, whether or not you're male or female or anything else, some of the topics can resonate with it. And too, like, were we really that filtered when we were in high school, going into college? And, so the conversations and the experiences were far more acceptable than 40, 50-year-olds. I don't know how old we all are, but I'm still 20. But watching this later on in life, I mean, but I also too have the sense of humor of like a 14-year-old boy, I think sometimes. So here we are.
I mean, you're very well spoken for 20.
Okay, thanks. I tell my kids that too. Take lessons, guys.
So we can jump into the awards, Kevin, if you want. That's
fine. I mean, well, there's a couple things I had in here. There were two things that were personal that hit me like hard. There's two references to Scottsdale, Arizona.
Oh, there are.
Yeah,
I caught that too.
There's one where they're at that party, like more the adult
the singer?
party. Yeah, and he's like, my brother came all the way from Scottsdale, Arizona, and you're not going to sing for him. So I'm like, that was awesome. And Emma Stone, really her first like big movie, she grew up in Scottsdale. Yeah, so two things in there, but it is interesting because in real life they grew up in Canada, but this was clearly filmed in California, like out neighborhoods around LA. So I wonder how much that was different from where they grew up. This is just a funny movie, and the point of like I don't know if I've matured enough to get beyond this type of humor. I still think it's really funny.
Me too.
Yeah,
you can't get around, like, it's just so relatable. I think that's what's great about it. Like, oh yeah, I get that. Like, oh, that's funny, and it's raunchy, but I kind of laughed about it, so it's okay. Like, nobody's around me, I can laugh about it. Like, my kids aren't here, I can laugh about that, right? So.
Yeah.
I know. It's one of those things where I think we went through a really serious time. Like, just the country went through like this movie cannot be made now. Probably could not have been made anytime, other than that little window where they had, like, when it was made in 2007. Agreed. I feel like it just kind of captured just kind of this moment in time that that type of just doesn't happen anymore. All right, so we have our award categories. So typically we're going through all these, and they're related to education, and we always start with the John Keating Award of who's the best educator in this movie. And this is a movie where there's not a lot of adult interaction, especially at the school level, and even the adult interaction is typically like the police officers. Not great examples. Did you guys have any? I had a few candidates in here. Did you guys have anyone who you nominate for this award?
Well, you could even do like mentor, right? Teacher or mentor.
I would probably go with the police officers, like, because they want to show them like police officers are real people, right? It's completely ridiculous, and completely off the wall. And not nearly like I can't think of any police officer, period, that I know in my life or I've ever seen that said, you know what, here's my gun. Shoot at the burning car. It's cool. Like, you'll have fun. Like, or shoot the stop sign, or like, let's have a beer while we're on duty. Like, that just doesn't happen. But I get like they were trying to prove like we're real people. Like, we're normal. Like, you can come along. We're just, we're part of the gang, right? Like, McLovin, like, here you go. Like, we knew you weren't 25, but well, we wanted to show you a good time, right? So I loved it. I love it. So,
Nick, I'd love to hear from the educator standpoint.
oh yeah.
Yeah, as I was going back watching, I thought, I don't know why I picked this, because there's not really a strong, like, great educator moment. It's like, the Dead Poet Study, you've got Robin Williams, and Oh Captain, My Captain, that moment. But this one, I would again say, I would echo what Ken said. Kind of the police officers, as wrong as they are for that role, that hope of, helping guide the next generation, or at least helping them see them as relatable as people. And I think especially as we age, and I've got my own preteens and teenagers in my house, and certainly having worked with young people as a teacher and a principal, you're always trying to like connect with them, and it's getting harder as the language changes faster and faster. And I'm like, I don't know what that word means, and I hope it's good. But I think that attempt to be relatable and be someone who you feel you can kind of break down that wall and that barrier. Police officers so often, not always like educators, but are sometimes viewed as outside of being approachable. And so being able to break down that barrier and be approachable and be somebody that you can connect with and feel kind of a resonance with is helpful.
Carla, anyone for you?
I think it was them too, but I didn't take relatability from it at all, because they were just idiots. Like, I don't even know I don't know if the teenage boys were dumber than the cops or what. And I don't think we're supposed to say dumb. So whatever. But here we are. I think that it would more so to me connected the dots of, here you have this kid, right? McLovin. What was his actual real name in the show?
Fogel.
Fogel, thank you. Who clearly lacks confidence. And I think that the relatability aside from the police officer aspect of it between the two cops, I think it built up his confidence in a way of like, they're in this bar and they have to chase down this guy, and he, stumbles and bumbles. He didn't do crap, by the way, right? And here they cheer him on and they're like, let's go get a beer, right? Or even the part where they come in and they're just like, whoa, hey, what were you doing in here?
Right
the scene
at the
where
end, yeah.
where he's with the girl, and and they're like, hey, we knew, but we just wanted you to like have a good time and really kind of see things differently. And he walks out and is like, can you do something for me? And so he completely changes his persona in a sense, walking out of that high school party. So I just think I think it built up his confidence, which I would fall towards mentor out of the ignorance of Officer Alfred Slater and Michaels.
Yeah.
And there's people that do that, when you really think about it, outside of that teacher or, academic experience, whether or not it's a coach or someone else like that, you're not traditionally going to get picked up by two cops and all of a sudden you're just like the cool guy on campus.
Yeah. I mean, I had them in there too, the officers. But I kind of equated them to almost like a young, like first year teacher who just really wants to connect with the kids and they go and that's the way they're the first year. And then they realize, oh, I cannot do that.
Yeah. It's not going to work out.
That is not going to work out in the long term.
Because you're always an authority figure, right? Like, it's just the way it is. Like, and you have to be. I think, like, I've never been a teacher, so Nick can probably talk to this more than I can, but it feels like that is something that will never happen because, it kind of goes back to, I'm going to fall back to like my parental role. Like, you talk to so many parents that say, oh, I want to be best friends with my kids. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be best friends with my kids.
Right.
I want to be a parent to my kids, and I want them to look up to me. My job is to make them better, right? They need to be better than I am, whether that's societally or, in school or whatever it is. Like, that's my job, not to be their friend, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. So the only one I put in there is maybe Evan. He was like the only one, even though he did not follow his moral compass. He had a moral compass.
Did.
He was always the one of being like, no, this is the right thing to do. Like, no, like trying to get him back on track, very unsuccessfully, but but at least like.
But we all have that
tried.
friend though, right? Who's like, did you actually think about this?
What's funny is I had a very small friend group like this as well, both in high school and in college. And one of my friends, still to this day, calls me his moral compass. So whenever he has a crisis, he calls me and asks me questions. So I find that to be quite interesting. I'm not trying to build myself up or anything, but I just found it interesting that you equated that. I'm like, you know what? That's an interesting comparison. So
all right, so we're figuring out the dynamic between you, Ken, and Nick. So Ken is Evan, Nick.
I was gonna say I was Evan for my friend group too, so I am not.
That's probably get along so well. Like that's why Nick and I are kind of like the two.
We're both old souls, man. We're just trying to keep people in line and just keep the train moving. Yeah.
Which one were you in your friend group, Kevin?
I was definitely more like Evan for sure. Yeah.
But we just are up here with a bunch of Evans.
I would. Yeah, I know. I would know what the right thing to do, and we usually wouldn't be the one leading the stuff that we shouldn't be doing. But I had a lot of fun watching it happen, and So.
Oh man.
How about you, Carla?
I don't even relate to these people. Like, I don't even have the parts or the equipment to relate to them. I don't even know.
But how about, any of the girls in the movie?
Probably the girl who asked to buy alcohol for sure. I was the person who was going to be throwing the party.
Okay, so now I know. Like, okay, now this shapes my T-shirt selection for you, Carla, a little bit. So I'm just so
you know, Ken, it would still be that way to this day. I just could purchase the alcohol myself. So the difference is I'm not dependent on someone else or authority to avoid. So I am the authority, which makes it even worse. But we do go back to that. I have the mentality of a 14-year-old boy, probably. So I would say I don't remember what the girls' names were though.
Jules was the one who had the party.
Okay, yeah. So probably her, because not the one that was like talking to Evan in the end. She was a little too gushy. Becca.
Right.
Yeah.
She was a little too gushy for me back then. But
and Jules was pretty straight. Jules was pretty responsible. She, it was her house, it was her party, but she was responsible. She kept it together. So there you go, Carla. There's
thanks
the
for wrapping that up for me nicely, Nick.
Nice.
You just debunked my 27-year-old's theory that I am the most irresponsible person she knows.
All right. I'm gonna move into the cliques. There's definitely like groups here that you see within there. Anyone wanna start putting those groups together?
Well, you have the jocks, right? Because what was the very first scene when Seth and Evan where were they, in a parking lot or something? And the guy gets out of the car and he's like, "Hey, do you ever having a party?" And he's like, "You're not invited." And tell Evan he's not invited either. I was like, what a jerk.
I don't know if they were jocks though. Were they
kind
of like the bully crowd or like the cool kid crowd? I wouldn't call them jocks. So I think. Like that group, I'll kind of bring this back to, I don't think that Seth and McLovin or Fogel or Evan were anything. Like they weren't jocks, they weren't nerds. They were kind of like their own little clique, right? And I think that happens more often than not. Like they're kind of in between.
Would they not be a nerd clique?
In their own way, maybe.
I don't know if I would have put him in the nerd. I would put him kind of in like an outcast type of group. Like they weren't like the cool kids.
Vogel's the ultimate nerd. Like he is the kid who would beat up and put in a locker. Like get real. Come on.
I think every group has one of those, don't they?
Well, right. Yeah, that's true.
Every group would beat him up and put him in a locker for sure. Maybe not you, Kevin. But
But he's got his two buddies flanking him that are gonna come to his aid. They're gonna stand up. Maybe not immediately, but they'll eventually help him out of the locker at some point. Evan
that's
would know that he should,
I
but
correct.
I do love that scene though. After like he invites, he goes, "I'm having a party. You're not invited." Spits on him and says, "Tell him you're not. You're telling a friend he's not invited."
And he turns and
And he
tells him
turns
that,
around
like,
and he's like, "So you're not invited,"
You wanted me to tell you that you're not.
as though he wasn't standing there listening to a whole dang
Yes,
thing.
yes. Oh, so funny.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
and then there's like the dropouts, or like not the dropouts necessarily, but like the guy that hits him with a car and they go to the party,
Yeah,
like
kind of
that
the
whole thing, like the older crowd, like the older,
yes.
like
Like the ones who haven't moved on. The ones,
yeah,
yeah,
yes,
like you
thank
could
you.
totally see,
Yes.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else in the groups? I mean, you definitely had the girls are like the party crowd, and they even like say that a couple
popular.
times. They're like, "Oh, what? You guys go to parties? We never see you at parties." So,
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And then if we move into more of like the iconic scenes for you guys, are the biggest ones for that. We call it sometimes the homecoming scene, or like what are those big ones where it kind of like it's the memorable ones, or the ones that you take away from
I
the
feel
movie?
like there were a lot in this movie,
There
though.
were a
Oh,
lot.
so many. Like I don't know which one to pick, honestly. I don't know, Nick. What do you think?
I feel like the most heartwarming. Of course, I'm going with the most heartwarming in this raunchy film. Um, Toward the end, when they are trying to get out of the party and get
Where
away
he
from,
carries him.
he's carrying him. He's carrying his buddy, and they're both, far gone. But and they've had not the best night of their friendship, But they still comes for his buddy, and he's still there for him. I think that's sweet. You're throwing him over the fence, and you're carrying him home, and you carried me. It's a sweet, endearing moment. Film that
I
I hope my
actually had
kids
the
never are
one.
part of.
I had the one after that. I had the malls.
Okay. Okay.
That's when it was kind of all pulling together. Like it was kind of they were connected with the girls, and that kind of bromance comes to that weird awkwardness when they decide they're going to split up.
Yeah.
And he says something to him of like they don't even know how to like
Yeah.
part ways.
They like
with
shake
each other.
hands. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I think he says, "I have your information." Like he has his phone number. I know how to reach you now. Yeah,
Oh my
that
gosh.
one for me was just kind of wrapped it all up together. But I do think kind of that end of the party scene be good. Any other ones?
I mean, the liquor store scene is
Liquor
probably.
store scene is.
But there's
yes.
also too the scene where, well, okay, there's another one. I have three.
All right, let's hear it.
There's the contract, or what was it? The crap. What did he sign?
Where they say like a person stole their car.
Yeah,
and
the
like,
crackhead stole their car and lit it on fire.
wrecks it.
And
Yeah.
it was like whatever his thing. And so then they go to the parking lot and they're racing around, and it's like, this is so cool. And McLovin knows that they know that he's 12, right? And there's that one, which I think is a big one too. And then the one where Evan's sitting there and he's like, "You ruined my life. Like I spent the last 3 years like dealing with you. I didn't get to experience any of high school. I didn't get all of these different things. And I'm going to college, inexperience, blah, 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 blah." And he blames, the other kid for it. And I think that was a big one too, like a pivotal moment in the show where you're just like, oh my gosh, we aren't as good of friends as I always thought. Even as an adult, you sometimes experience that, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought that was a good one too. Those are my three.
I mean, everybody wants it to be like the party, right? Like that's the homecoming. Like I think that's where the way they set it up. Like that's the obvious one to me. Like
Yeah.
everybody's there, but I think it's interesting too. Like there's a moment of realization that Seth has. Like I don't have to be wasted to connect with people, because at the end where she's like, I'm not drunk. Like I don't want to like do anything or like be close to you, because I want us to remember like this interaction, and I'm not wasted. I don't want you to be wasted either. So like there's this like interesting like, oh, maybe I don't have to do like what everybody else is doing in order to connect with another human, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of interesting.
When we work with schools at K-12, it's not just about furniture or design. It's about impact. Our radically student-centered approach puts students at the center of every decision. From that first conversation to the final walkthrough, we're focused on creating spaces that actually work for the kids, the teachers, and the community. So if you're looking to do more than just check a box on your next project, let's talk. Visit K12.com. That's KAY-TWELVE.com and see how we're helping schools transform learning one student at a time. Because at K12, it's not just about projects and furniture, it's about purpose. All right, I'm realizing I skipped a category of the class clown. Is there anyone who steals the movie? They're not the major role, but they get a lot of attention.
Well, McLovin.
Well, right.
I mean,
that seems like the obvious
like,
one, right?
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
that's definitely the one for me.
I mean, just like all of his manners, like the chicka, yeah, like who does that?
I
That's
just you know
so
that
great.
I do it
Well, you do.
in my kitchen
Yes.
all the time.
Okay, fair enough.
Even just the first time he's in it, where he's following the girl in the hallway.
He's kind of doing this.
I told her what time it was.
It's 10:33.
10:33.
Yeah. She's like, what? I told her what time it was. Yeah, he was so proud of that moment. Like,
Yeah. He like interrupts
I
home
got
at
you.
class to go tell them like how awesome that was. All right. A lot of one-liners. Do you guys have a favorite?
Okay,
so
so
I have to edit out a lot of them, but Ken,
Yeah.
if you've got yours at the top of your head, go for it. I know what mine is too.
I'll tell you, like, I still use this today, is the boop at the end. Where he boops him when they're like in their sleeping bags at the very end and they're telling each other they love them. And he goes, boop. I do that to this day, and my wife endlessly makes fun of me. And I do it all the time. Boop. I boop it. Boop, boop, boop. Like, that's just, it happens. Like, and I don't even think about it. But I know I got it from this movie because I didn't do it before 2007. I can tell you that. So that's my one-liner.
Mine are all inappropriate, but I do think that the best one is nobody's gotten a blowjob in cargo shorts since Nom. Like,
Accurate. It's accurate, though.
I just was like, look, they're back. Cargo shorts are back. I just want y'all know this, just so you know. That's what I saw in online shopping. I think that was the best line of the movie. I'm sure there were like 100, but it might be.
Nick, you got anything?
When McLovin first shows up with a fake ID, and he goes, "McLovin, one name? Who are you, Seal?" I think
That's a good one.
I don't know. I
Not
love that line.
Prince or Cher, but
No,
Seal.
Seal.
I love it.
Oh,
There's so many. The one I picked up on that I normally didn't was just when the real Seth Rogen is chasing them and he gets away
I
and
did not laugh.
he's a freak. He's the fastest human alive. Like he couldn't keep up with McLovin, or no, it was he was chasing Evan.
It was
He couldn't
Evan.
keep up with
He
Evan.
was
Yeah.
puking.
Yeah.
You picked the most appropriate line, Kevin.
Thanks.
Or-
I just
It was
Yeah.
funny,
I have also
though.
used
it was
that line in a
strategic. It
professional
was
setting.
exactly strategically selected.
But I do think like that. I mean, the thing of like I'm McLovin. How come McDonald's didn't take that as a slogan?
Oh,
for
they should
himself?
totally do a campaign.
And-
on that.
But he just was like, I'm McLovin. And the way he said it was just without doubt or without conviction. He owned it. And it was ridiculous.
I mean, well, that is the thing. I mean, that McLovin driver's license is like they sell those T-shirts at Target now,
Yeah.
and I don't know if the kids know or not what it's actually from. Like, kind of like how they'll wear like Pink Floyd T-shirts, and they don't know. They just think it's a cool T-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on top lines? We can spend a lot of time on here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I have
All right.
a lot of inappropriate ones, but I'm fine.
All right.
I'll
All right.
find
We'll
one.
put them. We'll save them for social media. We'll,
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
okay.
add
Right.
them in on all
Fair.
the time.
But we
That's
have
fair.
to talk about how many foods are shaped like things. So
Yes.
For the Ghostbusters lunchbox, it's a treasure trove.
Yeah. A big veiny one. Like, I just like that.
Oh man.
Again, I'm so sorry I picked this movie, guys.
No,
Don't
your fault.
apologize.
all right. Realistic or ridiculous? A lot of ridiculous in here.
Oh, yeah.
Anything in particular stand out as realistic or ridiculous? Knowing
don't
what we know
know.
about with schools.
I went to some crazy high school parties. I just want y'all to know this. And I felt
Was it
like
like
their
that?
parties were very tame. So I think it was realistic.
All right, I'm going to give this. This is my hot take on this movie. Is I think of all the movies we have done on this show, this is the most realistic one that we've done.
You knocked it out of the park, Nick.
Yes, I
Yes.
think and I think if we really look at it, like this is a movie where the adults are not even like an ounce of their thoughts, right? Like it is all about hormones, all about
Oh, yeah.
just like their
Raging.
peers. And I think sometimes where we in the profession here think of education, we think, oh, like we need to do a better job for these kids. They don't care about adults at all. They are in this world 99.9% of the time. And whatever we say about school and all this stuff, this is what matters to them.
I think that there's a lot of like the realistic piece of like the friendships that are created, right? Like the bonding that happens between your friends in high school and the way that you bond about and the stupid fights that you have over ridiculous things that don't matter any time in life ever. But I think you nailed it, Kevin. Like this is a very even though it's ridiculous and hilarious and just full of one-liners, that's kind of what high school is, like high school after hours, like it feels like these we had a lot of these same conversations as when I was growing up in my friend group. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And the dynamics of like who's going to be roommates in college and
Oh, for sure.
like
Right.
Well, I think it all enters into the equation. Like all of the events of it are over the top, right? Overall,
Yes.
but the feeling aspect of it is very, very real. So you have the fear of drifting apart because it's just what you've known. And I do think like as kids, middle school is super weird. No, you can't tell me that someone's middle school was not awkward, but you go into high school and you're obsessed with fitting in. And maybe it happens when you're younger too, but you're desperate to make memories before you graduate and move on to that next step in life because that next step means responsibility. Little do people know that that's not true. But I think it's relatable. The emotional aspect, like the core of the emotions associated with the film is incredibly relatable. It's just that it's depicted over the top. So, although I don't.
Yeah. I pick up on the same thing, Carla, that just that kind of that desire to belong, that, no matter what level you're at or what age you're at, and some of us never age out of that, we're always looking for that connection, within the professional setting. But, I think it's that desire for connection and being seen and feeling like, you were part of something. And even as off the wall and ridiculous as some of the things are, as we talk about how it doesn't age well, I think that's kind of the beauty of it, though. Like some of the stuff that we probably talked about when we were all in high school at different, wherever we're at generationally, probably didn't age well either. But that's a snippet of that period of time, and that's why I think we are naturally attracted to, movies and music and TV of whatever era we came of age in, because something speaks to, what we experienced and how that resonated with us. So
Yeah.
I think that's part of it too.
all right, should we move on to the next one? The iPhone effect. All right. So this movie comes out in 2007 when the iPhone comes out. So we talked about it, kind of hit this like perfect little window, and it's really about them growing up. So in their minds, it kind of happened more like probably 10 years earlier of what they were doing. But there's enough. They got flip phones in there. They're trying to make cell phones with, calls with really bad reception. But I don't know. Was that the downfall? Was the iPhone effect the reason why this movie can't be made today, or why things are different now?
Yeah, Life 360 or Find My Friends would be the downfall of this entire storyline.
Snapchat, they know
Snapchat would
exactly where
just
everyone
destroy
is.
it,
They
yeah.
just literally look and they see where everyone is all the time.
Yeah.
Like how much would be ruined of like there's no interaction anymore, right? Like everybody just wants to record it. Like it's there's not like, oh, there's something happening. I'm going to record it. I'm not going to get in on the action, right? Like that's just kind of what happens now. So you get 17,000 different views of whatever's going on. So
There was the one party scene, and I kind of laughed because the guy pulls out his phone and he's like, "Oh, let me get a picture," and he flips it up and he holds it real close. It's
hold
like,
still. Don't move.
you'll never be able to see that spot, but whatever. Take the
That's
picture,
right.
Nick. Take it.
Yeah.
Whatever you need to do. Now our phones are better than our,
Yeah.
cameras sometimes, but
It-
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like literally what changes all of this. I mean, it kind of gets rid of all that fun.
Yeah, that's for
Like,
sure.
I mean, I just think of how many, like, that was what high school and college was. It was literally just this roam of trying to find your people, like, and be like, oh wait, we're gonna go meet up with someone, and that was like your entire night was like trying to connect with people and find them, whether like whether it was
forget
in high
about it. You had
school.
pagers back then.
My gosh, I never had a
Did you
pager.
have a pager?
You were way cooler than I was.
Oh,
I had one friend in college who had a pager, and we just called him the drug dealer. We just made fun of him because, like, why would anyone have a pager?
wait, that's legitimately how you communicated.
Think I'm older than you because I completely missed that
I think we're the same
the
age. Kevin.
pager.
You're 20, Carla.
never
You
had
already
a
said
pager.
it.
I was
You
the
said it, you were
drug
20.
dealer,
Yes,
apparently.
that's right. Yeah.
No, I mean we had cell phones. You would text people, and you text.
I did not. I went through all of high school and college without a cell phone.
I didn't get a cell phone until I was in college. Like that was when I got one. So
I got one my first job. They gave me a cell phone.
Was it like a
because
brick?
I mean it wasn't the brick. It was
like the Nokia, like
it was like the
yeah.
It had the scroll
Yep.
on the side.
No,
Yeah.
my college years were the eras where you had to buy like the phone cards with minutes on them at
Yep.
gas stations and stuff because that was the only way you can call other people. Was
Yeah.
otherwise long distance was really expensive.
Payphones were
So-
still a thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So yeah, I didn't have any of that.
Remind me where you
Hmm.
grew up.
I grew up in Chicago area and then went to college in Ohio.
Okay.
Not Iowa, Ohio.
Different states.
There
A lot of vowels.
Same number
different
of
states.
vowels, though. So
True. True. 75% vowels.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is sometimes my favorite, but I think also the most difficult category, right? It's the substitute. Would you recast anyone?
I think Chris Hemsworth should be Seth.
Oh.
I'm not just kidding. Not really. Like that's total. Like no way. Like there's no way that he could do that. Like or is Ryan Reynolds like Michael Cera? You know, like the Evan. You know, like I feel like Ryan Reynolds would get recast in anything, but
I really have this fascination in weird characters with Finn McWolford. Do you know who he is? He's an actor. He's a musician. He's got a weird nose. What was he in? Stranger Things.
oh,
Dark hair. Like he just is this awkward sort of.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how to explain him. He's weird. Like he's a strange looking character.
he's the one that dates the girl in Stranger Things.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her name too. But yes, I know who you're talking about.
Did you look him up, Kevin?
I think I'm spelling it wrong.
Like he had.
but-
He got sidetracked. He's
W-
watching Stranger Things.
OLFHARD. Like he has this weird face. He almost looks like
Oh.
Edward Scissorhands.
Very
Yeah.
pale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
super pale guy. Like we wouldn't have been able to see him in the
totally.
dark, the
Totally.
dark movie. But I think he could have totally been McLovin for sure. Tall,
I can see
lanky,
that.
sort of
Yeah.
whatever. But obviously, like I'm a little bit. I brought him up in one of our last movies too.
I know you brought him. I should have looked him up then
I-
because I didn't know
He's
who it
just
was.
so weird.
Yeah, he could have done that. Anyone else that you guys would think for? I think Jonah was like the Jonah Hill is like the perfect. I mean, they're almost like little brothers between him and Seth Rogen. And I think and they have a bunch of movies together. Felt like that was perfect. Although I did read that Seth Rogen was really trying to push for himself to play that. Which would have been way too old. But then there's only a 2-year age difference between Seth Rogen and
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Jonah Hill?
and Jonah Hill. Yep.
Wow, they did a good job kind of spreading that one out a little bit.
Yeah.
But Jonah Hill looks so young though.
Yeah, he does.
He
He
does.
does.
Yeah.
What about like Nicolas Cage as one of the police officers? You know,
Ew, could you? I don't know if I could imagine that, Kev.
Yeah, he'd be. I
like
don't
Bill
know.
Hader's character.
Yeah,
Uh,
maybe.
I feel like they were so perfectly cast. Just
yeah,
to
Yeah,
that's
change
a
it,
hard
they
one.
were
although
good.
I don't know, the show The Bear on FX.
Oh, I love that show.
Oh
Jeremy
yes.
Allen White, I think, would make a fine Evan, and then Maddie Matheson would probably make a really good Seth. I mean, just in that dynamic, but that's also kind of the dynamic in that show too. So I don't know. Maybe I'm
The
just
only one I thought was Timothy Chalamet, and I never know if
yes,
I pronounce his name right. But
Yeah,
Chalet, yeah.
do you know who he is? I mean, he was in Wonka, and he was in the Dylan movie.
was he like on The King or something like that too? He's been in a number of
Yeah, he's been
different.
in a bunch of
Yeah,
stuff.
he's a really great actor. Was he on Dune?
He was
Yeah,
on Dune.
he probably could have played Evan. I think he
Yeah.
could have been that. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he looks very similar to the other guy. The other one I think too that could have played Evan is Jacob Tremblay. He's a strange looking character too, but he was in Wonder.
I'm looking him up.
That's
Yep,
all I can
for
think
sure.
of that he was in. That I don't know what else there is. But anyways, he's a character too. But I think though that he would be more charming
Mm,
Yeah.
than Evan.
not quite so awkward. Maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he would have more of like an awkward charm than just the awkward parts of it.
Yeah.
You know, I would work John Mulaney in somehow as one of the police officers. I feel like he would make
Mm.
a good police officer if we
What
had to
about like
recast that role.
John Malkovich? Like I feel like he's like he could play like anything, right? Like
He's McLovin. There we go. John
oh my
Malkovich is
god,
McLovin.
that's like where are they now? Like maybe that's the recast of like the get together, right? Oh my gosh.
All right, I got a couple other ones there, like the hags, like the yearbook quotes that you would put in there. The "Have a great summer." What would be the things that people would be writing in the yearbook, or what would be the things that lasting impact of this movie?
Falls into the one-liner categories too, right? Like there's
I just think you would go through the yearbook and you just would have like 800 references to McLovin. That
Yeah.
just
He had the
lives
best
on
night
for sure.
of his
He
life.
Yeah.
did, yeah, he did. Yeah.
the chicka chicka wow. Like
Just.
I mean, I gotta be honest, guys.
In a minute.
My cheeks are gonna hurt after this. Like, it's gonna be hard to go to my facility group after this because I'm gonna have to like massage all the way down there because I'm smiling so much.
Well,
Thank
I
you for
had in my
this.
head you had a school board meeting, so I'm like, at least you'll be the only one smiling in most school board. I don't know what any hags would be, but I would imagine that there would be some pretty crude jokes for sure.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
for sure.
All right, so predictions. Where are they now? Where do you think? I mean, so we're 18 years later, so they're in their mid 30s. What do you think these guys are doing now?
Seth is
You know, I think Evan and Gabby got married, and they've got like 4 kids. I think that relationship somehow lasted the test of time. I think Jules is probably like a high-profile lawyer and is very successful. She was straight-laced in high school. She's got it together still. Seth, I think, partied really hard in college and likely works in government at some level now, probably. And then, I think McLovin's probably a cop, and he's, continuing to impart wisdom on the next generation.
You think he's a cop? Okay, tell us, Ken. This is y'all's movie.
He just wants to give other high school kids that same experience.
Solely for that, yes.
He's like, I'm passing it down.
So I think Seth is actually now throwing the parties that that they got into. Like he's that guy. Like he's the one. Like you guys should all come over and like hang out. Like that's him now, right? He dropped out of college. He didn't go. I could see Evan and Becca being together forever, like having a lot of kids and just being the perfect couple. Jules, I don't know. I think that she could go one of two ways. She could either be like a high profile lawyer, or she's with Seth, like partying her butt off, right? Like just living like FOMO, like you only live once, right? Like we're just gonna do this thing.
That hurts
Yeah.
my heart that you describe Jules that way.
Maybe, like I think it's a divergent thing, right? Like, did something happen in college that really like pushed her one way or the other? Like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go towards that and I'm going to be a lawyer. Or you know what? that's really not my life. I'm gonna go have fun. Like that's where I want to be.
So, you want to go first, Kevin, or you want me to go?
I want you to go.
So I bet you Seth is in sales. Like, no
Yeah.
no
That
joke.
tracks.
No joke. I think he's still loud. Like, he's just that guy, but he's charismatic as hell. Like, how could you not be in sales, right? Evan, he's a teacher, or he's a tech nerd, or he's something. Like, he's a different sort of person. McLovin would be, I think he'd be an entrepreneur who's like out there talking to people, and he's like, yo, boop, look what I did, right? And then Becca and Jules. I think Becca, I can picture Becca still with Evan. I think Jules would be, I'm digging what Nick said, an attorney. I'm not digging her partying with Seth for sure.
Okay. All right.
Um,
That's fair.
all right, let me think. Some of this is going to be on the fly here. So we do know what actually happens to them because the two of them continue to write movies and do movies together. So there is an aspect. I'm like, you can see that. I can see maybe Evan, like came up with, like has a whole bunch of porn sites that, that he started.
Tech. Come on, that's what I qualified it as, tech.
Yeah. So he could be on that. Yeah, I think I could definitely see them together. I could see Evan and Becca together, and I think they had kids when they were young. I could just see him like scrambling as like the dad, like just trying to keep up with,
Yeah.
with kids. And then, on the weekends he goes and hangs out with Seth. Man, what would that guy be doing? I could see him just having like his own YouTube channel of just like this awkwardness. He would basically be drawing a blank of one of the YouTube guys who just I'll think of it. The guy, I don't know if you guys followed, but the one guy who he like went across the country, like starting with a penny to give Mr. Beast a penny. I'll think of it.
I know what you're talking about.
Ryan Trahan. I could see him just having like this super awkward YouTube channel of interactions with people. I think Jules is actually doing sales. I think Jules is like she's organizing like events and
Like an event
like
planner?
that. Yeah, she
Like
can
that
be
kind of
like
guy?
event
Alright.
planner or like organizes conferences.
Yeah, I can picture her as a social media
Yeah.
influencer.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you can do that too. Yeah. So I added another category of battle the bands. Was there any music in here that
Oh, there was.
that stood out? Like best music of this movie.
Well, he sings one, right? Like that's really great.
Yes.
And they all were like singing together with him. Like I love that. Like that was hilarious. And they're they're doing drugs, and he's just half of them are crying, and they're like, "Yeah, you go." Like it's awful. It's completely awful. But they're so wasted that they just are like, "You're the man," And it gets interrupted with a fight that happens. So
I wish I did have a couple that I was like, I need to remember this. I'm Your Puppet. That one was in there.
Yeah. I mean, they had Notorious B.I.G.
Oh,
True.
they did have Notorious Big.
Yeah, they did.
There's a song by the Four Tops in there as well that I for whatever reason, I really enjoy.
I actually had, I think it was a Rick James song, like the intro.
It's busting out on the
yeah.
funk. Yep.
I thought that was awesome.
Oh
Like
my hell,
they
I
had
love that
Belle Biv
intro. I
DeVoe,
love
too.
them.
They had
dancing
Belle
around,
Biv
so,
DeVoe too. The
Oh,
Doobie
that's true.
song.
yeah.
oh my gosh.
Awesome.
Mm.
Good job, guys. I hope you enjoyed your careers. This will.
So
Just
okay,
remember, Ken.
my architecture nerd out moment was I'm watching them like run through the halls of the school, like going in and out of classrooms. I'm like, no way, that doesn't happen anymore. That doesn't happen. Like you don't get interrupted. Like they can't just pop into the FAC class, their FCS class, and be like, hey, let's do this tonight, and the teacher doesn't go, get out of here. Like the door's locked. Like that doesn't happen. Like school safety, guys. Like where are we at with this?
Yeah.
And it's just like I started to see some of that stuff, and obviously like California, like they're all walking outside. There's a mass amount of like kids just like hanging out outside of the school. That doesn't happen anymore. Like where are you supposed to be? Like where's your hall pass? If you need to get there, like where are you at? Like that kind of stuff. Like that was my architecture nerd out moment, Carla. Like that just doesn't happen anymore.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't happen. Like when McLuffin is following the thong girl and he gives her the time. Why were they like the only two in the
Only
movie?
ones. Yeah.
What was
Yeah.
happening, and how did that? Like, how did they wind? Like how? How did they wind
Yeah.
up there just by themselves?
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah, and how they just walk into the class. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and the interaction with the teacher, right? I mean, when Seth wants, he's like, "I don't have a partner." in home ec.
Oh,
That was a really great part too. Oh my
I'm not gonna put on your
gosh.
job, but yeah.
Yeah. But I'm sorry. He always says like, I'm sorry.
kept apologizing. He's like,
Yeah.
this class means nothing. Who gives a
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but that's just the way
man.
it's true. I'm sorry. Yeah.
All right.
And then, yeah. It's
Well,
all great.
Nick, Ken, tell me what real world. What I mean, how are things going? What's going on in your world? Yeah, fill us in a little bit of like the type of stuff that you guys are working
Oh man, I think I run the gamut. I was trained as an architect, so I do a lot of planning on the planning side now too. So through master planning all the way through construction, right? Like I've got a performing arts center going on right now. I've got a career and technical education center going on right now. Schools, like just classroom stuff. I tell you what though, it's been a lot of fun getting into the learning environment planner role and kind of walking down that path. The same colleague I was talking about before, always tells me I have to take my architect hat off and put my planner hat on.
It's true.
And I physically do that. I'm like, okay, architect, I'm going to be planner now. Like, this is what's happening. So it's been a lot of fun, though. Like, I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, I enjoy my job. I love what I do. I love working with Nick and at OPN. So it's fantastic.
Thanks, buddy. Love working with you too. I don't have an architect hat to take off, so I get to learn from Ken kind of as he talks through that side of our work. Having spent close to 20 years as an educator and now stepping into this role, just always excited to get to work and reach out to either school districts or superintendents or principals or facilities team members as we work through solving their problems. Really, architecture is in planning schools. We are simply solving problems for our clients. And I think that's the coolest part of it is that in the end, we're designing really robust, equitable, meaningful environments where really important work happens. And so when I was a principal, OPN actually designed the school that I was the principal of last. And in the planning process, I said to them, I want you guys to win awards for how this building looks. I want me and the staff to win awards for what we do inside the walls. And so I think, when you can blend those, those two things, and we can look more deeply at the outcomes of, well-designed environments and healthy learning environments for kids and for the adults that work there. It's exciting to get to go to work every day and problem solve and think and plan and, see it come to fruition in the end as we, get to design really, really cool stuff for people.
Yeah. I think, there was somebody that once asked me, like, they did a lot of like corporate architecture or, something like that. And they're like, why do you like to design for kids? Like the budgets are not very good. Sometimes the design, isn't as high end as what you get to do for. I'm like, you know what? When I walk into a classroom and I see all those kids like using the space and learning and understanding and using the classroom for what it's supposed to be used for and like as intended, or whatever collaborative space that we have, or like what, there's very little sense of gratitude or joy that you get beyond that from a professional standpoint, right? Like that's so great. And what Nick said too, like designing those spaces that are equitable and meaningful. And, as kids grow up and learn in a well-designed environment, that then translates into the rest of their career, like looking for well-designed pieces and understanding how those play an integral part in how we live, work, and play every day. So,
well, and how students are engaged in that space too, right? And so
sure.
imagine being the person who can look and say, we impacted those kids.
Yeah.
So I think
awesome.
I always think that's awesome. Yeah.
It's just
it feels like you guys do it with some fun element in there too, which is always nice. Because I think sometimes we forget, like, hey, we're designing for for kids and teachers, and a big element of that, there is joy and fun that happens in here. And yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Learning is joy. It has to be.
That's
And so
right.
I think
Yeah.
as much as we can capture that in the work that we do, it's critical too.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for bringing Superbad to the show.
You're welcome,
to
and I'm sorry.
the listeners, if you want to hear more like this, just hit subscribe wherever you're listening. And betterlearningpodcast.com is our hub for everything. We'll have links to all this, as well as Nick and Ken's info on here if you want to reach out to them and let us know what we missed. We know we missed some stuff here, like intentionally, but you can put it wherever you're watching or listening to this. You can put it in the comments. We'll interact that way. But it's always great doing this with you, Carla. Thanks for being the co-host on this one here. And we'll talk again here soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The Better Learning Podcast is produced by Matt Rogers and edited by Kelly Jones. The views and opinions shared on this podcast are those of the individual speaking and do not necessarily represent the perspectives of their affiliated companies, organizations, or associations.